We do. Kabando joins us on the line this morning as we get into Lest We Forget. Hello, Kabando. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing today?
We are doing good. We thank God for that.
Karibu Sana, getting into our conversation that we do this Friday, on Friday mornings. We do it today after a couple of days when things escalated. And we did have a conversation last week anticipating that, there would be a time where Kenya's people would then be able to protest. But unfortunately, the protests that we saw on Wednesday were marred by a number of things. They were marred again by destruction of looting and destruction of businesses that people have to then again lose. And this is married with the protest that was taking place, which unfortunately was discolored by this, and then also marred again by death, marred again by violence, marred again by injury, and then people are crying again in hospital. It's almost as though, Kabando, we forgot the reason why these protests were taking place, and we want to get, first of all, a bit of a feeling around what you are seeing the situation is currently.
Thank you again, SpiceFM, for having me online. What is happening is evidently intentional. Because the government, through the Interior Ministry and the Police Department, the National Police Service, had indicated clearly days before and the hours before Wednesday, 25th of June, that they would provide the logistical support to ensure that all the protesters were secured and that, they had received all the notifications showing the intention of the protest. But on the onset, of course, many did not believe that it would be all smooth going. And predictably, the provocations came from the police. It was shown, and this is not in context, that the protesters did not provoke, and that the disruptions and the irritations came from police once again. And there is a loud statement of impunity that things cannot change, they are beyond change. There is institutional decay within the security apparatus, but one needs to also understand that all these departments of governance, the agencies of governance, they act on instructions, on guidance, and they comply with orders of seniors and specifically the political leadership from the presidency, where the Interior Ministry, that is the Home Ministry of all the security and the governance agencies, is domiciled. We saw the blockage on Decay Road. We saw the blockage on Langata Road, on Kiabu Road, on Wayakiwe, on Mombasa Road. And yet, even in the far-flung sub-counties, we had seen the notifications that people would be assembling in commemoration in this first anniversary, in remembrance and celebration of the gallant Jezis fallen through gunshots that were massacred last year. So, as it is now, clearly, the president has lost grip. And if there was any indication that the president has lost grip, the statement that he gave the same day as he was making speeches at the coast in Kilifi. And then yesterday's statement, very, very, very incompetent, very irresponsible, very insensitive statement from the very man appointed to be in charge of Interior, Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen. even giving orders, anybody near a police station, not somebody attacking a police station, telling the police, if you see anybody near there, and they're seeming to even indicate that they don't understand. They are completely clueless. They are rudderless. They are aimless. Because we said yesterday that the protesters in Nairobi were ferried from certain counties, including my home county of Nyeri. And now the question is, since there were protests even in my sub-county of Mukurweini, up to late in the evening, there was no violent incidences. There were protests in Trans Nzoia, in Kakamega, in Kisii, in Mombasa. We had over half of the country, 26 counties and forward, prominently broadcast and publicized, having held very peaceful demonstrations, the mandamanos in those non-violent counties. Were those also ferried from other counties to Trans Nzoia, to Kakamega, to Mombasa, to even Eldoret itself? So when these statements are made, it is very, 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 very disappointing. It is worrisome because what was expected, the minimum basic expectation by the people of Kenya was taking accountability. Of course, it is good to also admit that there was misadventure here and there where, there was looting. But then you ask, in Nyeri, there was looting at a mini supermarket. But some protesters wanted to also attack another supermarket owned by an incumbent member of parliament, but they could not access because it was really well secured by the security forces. The other one was exposed, and it's like, it was let to be attacked. We are not saying that those who did that did well. There should not be any level of violence. There should not be any crime in this protest. And of course, we know elements. We have organized demonstrations before, even when we are in school, and they are always sometimes infiltrated by criminal elements, and there will be a stone throwing here and there and all that. But if you are well organized, you will of course overwhelm the gangs and the goons. And we saw that being done initially in Nairobi. But in other areas in Nairobi, we saw the police refusing even to protect a single person being attacked by a group that was openly being given instructions around a police Lady cruiser. 20 policemen, 20 goons, one person being attacked, and the bystander or somebody walking by. So we have lost total grip. The nation has witnessed the president, Ruth himself, failing directly as a person and also through his interior cabinet secretary. But then we ask ourselves, let's forget what has happened before. We have seen these incidences. Only now it is escalated to the level where it appears now it's untouchable. Because we are not going to stem the tide against this government. These are hundreds of thousands, if you count now across the country, millions of people, largely young people, and you can see sections dominated by young ladies, females, and this means that the country is angry. The country is hungry. The country is impatient. The country is desperate, is disappointed, has given up. And since the country cannot be protected, and those who are mandated and obliged to do so, then there cannot be another option. And the option is seeking redress through non-violent means. As we saw on Wednesday, they came to protest what happened last year. Instead of it now being moderated and secured properly, it has just deteriorated. So,
Kabando, I have to ask you at this point, because it's a difficult question to ask and not one in surrender, but folks started to mull, and I've seen a couple of comments even this morning asking that if every time then that there is a protest with the intention of it being a peaceful protest, if every time this happens, that then there's the infiltration of this criminality that happens, because unfortunately on Wednesday night that there were women who were assaulted, there were women who were raped, there was destruction of property, there were people whose livelihoods then were diminished to within zero, to zero. And of course, this is not talking about the violence and the death that happened. But every time that there is this protest, which is using a constitutional right to send a message or to ask for certain things, that we have the infiltration of this. And it is very clear that people take advantage of this peaceful protests to then bring about this destruction, which unfortunately then is used as a tool to counter anything that would have happened as a result of these protests. And so people are asking the question, do people stop going to the streets? Because continually going to the streets to protest brings about this destruction, which people then use as a tool to say, look at what your peaceful protests are bringing.
Well, I don't think people will submit. Unfortunately, history has taught us that when governments become a rock and they cannot anymore stand for justice, democracy, non-violence, for the peaceful coexistence of the people, there isn't anywhere in the world where people pushed to the edge have submitted so that the rulers can win, so that the goons, so that the extrajudicial killings and abductions can be stopped by people submitting to allow the looting, the clear impunity, the abuse of the rule of law and the violation of the Constitution. We gave ourselves a Constitution in 2010. We even had a Constitution before that had still those rights, but now we have anchored it clearly. We cannot take away our Constitution so that Ruth and his political gang can reign supreme. And how it is no longer a question of Gen Zs alone. It's only that we Kenyans have allowed the young people to own this movement because they initiated it. They say they don't want to be dominated by any political party. They don't want to be dominated by any ethnic group. They don't want to be prejudiced. These are the children of Kenya. Clear, clean, with vision and focus. So the question you have asked Odu is, do people stop going because of these crimes against humanity?
Yeah.
The rapings that have happened, the killings that have happened, the maiming that have happened, the irresponsibility in the lootings by those criminal elements. People will not stop. And actually, even us who are not now, been involved in this, people, you talk to everyone because we all talk. Do this media and the other media in the houses, we talk wherever we go. And everyone, except those who are enjoying the trappings of power, except those who are captives of the regime looting, except those who are surrogates of the government today, and therefore giving and voicing messages that will be in support of what the government is doing. Everyone else is saying something has to give. Something has to change.
Kabando, as you have this discussion on just the aftermath of the protest, it was to commemorate the 60 lives that were lost last year. But here we're talking about an additional 15, so we're talking about 75 and still counting. But even while at it, you hear the conversation that is ongoing now, and it has been reduced to Gachagua versus government matter instead of listening to the hue and cry that is being raised by the young people, the demonstrators out there. And even when you talk about the notification that was given to the police, because they acknowledged that a notification was given to them and they would be there to offer security, one would have hoped that there would have been a discussion on the route plan, how the security security would be provided to these demonstrators. But instead of that, what we saw is early morning, roads were blocked. Kenyans could not access the CBD. And one asks, why not even give a notification on the roads that will be blocked, and why you are blocking roads so that citizens don't access do not access the city? Then again, even as we have this discussion, why aren't we just listening to what is being said and act on the concerns Kenyans are raising instead of turning these into a political banter?
You see, first, to start assigning responsibility of this national protest to any political party, to any political figure, or to any ethnic group or any region, would just be showing how myopic and how senseless and stupid people could be. Because the opposite of being stupid is to being sober, to show concern and understanding. The question you ask is simply to government, not to citizens, because, as I said, we saw various notifications given. We had a police spokesman, both the regional, county, and from the national police service headquarters, giving assurances of providing security. But instead of providing security, in the morning, we saw roads being blocked. We saw multitudes of peaceful, non-violent individuals, mass walked into CBD, which was the epicenter of the demonstrations, being blocked. So who contravened the law? Who did the violation? It was obviously, and is obviously, those who blocked the peaceful protest, who provoked you. So just at the very center of central business district in Nairobi, tear gas is being thrown at individuals who are just processing flags, water, bottles of water, and, whistles, completely unarmed and peaceable, marking. Did you see the parents and the families of Gen Zs who were killed last year? They had assembled very, very nicely in a group, those elderly parents, the grandmothers, the siblings, the other relatives, to go and lay wreaths outside Parliament, to lay their flowers to commemorate their loved ones. They were blocked. The whole day would have expected that they would have been escorted, allowed to lay their flowers, would have seen that as a celebration, and perhaps even the mass uprising would have terminated earlier in the day because there would have been that satisfaction. But let me add another thing. As much as we want to blame the person where the buck stops, the person who carries the highest responsibility is the President of the Republic of Kenya, who is supposed to be the symbol of national unity and our sovereignty. But let us now also ask, those individuals who belong to the opposition, those people we worked with, and they were running against this regime, who have been compromised, they have joined this regime. Why have they joined this regime? If you scrutinize clearly, a huge number of them have integrity issues, either in the ministries they presided before, the counties they presided before. We have seen even statements coming from KOTU, the Central Organization of Trade Unions in Kenya. Just like the way the Secretary General was praising the previous regime, and the previous regime, and the previous regime, all throughout succumbing and being a surrogate of the ruling party. Where you are supposed to have institutions, trade unions, where you are supposed to have individuals, political figures, giving support, including the one who was our candidate against William Ruto. The same day is now telling us we should wait for 2027, we should not have a demonstration. Yet, you have lived a life that is pro-activity, a life that is loudly against dictatorship. But now you are sitting on the table of national eating. You can demolish and you can demonize everyone else who is doing things that you have done for over 6-7 decades. So we should, as a country, ask ourselves the integrity of leadership that is lacking, or the deficiency of leadership responsibility and the political morality. Leadership ethics is one cause, because the president is feeling secured by not only his party, which is now a cacophonous, which is now in a mess, is feeling secured by the opposition numbers. We saw the statement being given by certain governors to say they are thanking their counties, they did not come to protest, they did not come. The protest was about people who are killed. You are thanking your county. The previous night spent a lot of time maybe compromising young people who had organized themselves, or sometimes even threatening them. And now you are saying we shouldn't celebrate Mashujaa Gen Zs, our children, who were massacred on June 25th last year. So we should even demolish Mashujaa in Kenya to say that those who fought for independence in Kenya should be not celebrated. Maybe you should say even Wangari Maathai did a mistake for starting out for Uhuru Park at the Karura and for environmental protection in the Republic of Kenya.
Why do you say this? Because I'm thinking that as you're saying this, as it's connecting and saying, like, why should we celebrate the heroes who made such a sacrifice? Is it because it seems as though we're turning around and spitting in the face of that sacrifice?
Yeah, because I'm saying the very fact that we have political leaders in this country, senior and elderly, we have prominent political leaders who are in the formations that would be oversighting this government, now in government, and giving support, play support. And as I said, and I dare repeat, that most of these individuals, including the leadership in the court, including those people who left as me went to the cabinet, including the politicians who are supposed to be in the coalition that should be oversighting, they are involved, and people know this.
I have to ask though, Kabando, because look at where we've gone in a very short period of time, and I'm talking about hours, that people came out to continue a protest about certain things, but at the same time to memorialize those who died when the first protest took place. But look at where the conversation has gone now. So I have to ask that then, was it intentional? That because now we are talking about the deputy president mentioned that this is the worst death and destruction that Kenya has ever experienced. The CS likened this to terrorism.
Yeah.
And in Parliament, members of Parliament, in the names of the leader of the majority and the minority, said that this is a political thing, that these were not protests, that somebody came in and planned for this to happen. And then the whole idea of asking for better governance, which is what was the original thing, then loses its potency. Was it planned from the very beginning that that's what was going to do, to diffuse this issue? Because now what are we talking about? We are talking about the sentiments made by the CS as insensitive, the expressions as insensitive, and we are saying that they just don't get it. And we're having a different conversation now as opposed to pushing for what people were pushing for in the first place. Was it intentional?
Fortunately, the criticisms that are being made of the government reactions and the responses by the security apparatus to the peaceful demonstrations, to the non-violent protests, the uprising against extrajudicial killings and abductions, are perfectly in order, because they are only accumulating the moral decay of the incumbent government. And by the way, the claims that certain other individuals were involved, we've seen them trying to even say that these protests come from the Kikuyu community. Mm-hmm. That's what they are saying. Let's say how it is being said. Kipchumba Murkomen and therefore William Ruto are trying to depict this national uprising against impunity, against misgovernance, against incompetence, against looting, against extrajudicial killings, against abductions, as an isolated Kikuyu community uprising, even when these demonstrations are national. What they are doing today, they are doing exactly what the colonial government did. During the colonial time, as repression escalated in Kenya, the colonial government even gave a special card to people of the Mount Kenya area, the Kikuyu, the Ebu, and the Bere. And as if some of these people who are criticizing the Gen Zs have said in their political rallies before, even demonizing this community, so that the rest of the country can be mobilized against the Kikuyu, the Ebu, and the Meru people. But this will be an attempt in vain. We saw it in 1990 when Charles Rubia and Kenneth Matiba and Raila himself were arrested by the Moi government and were put in detention. The Kikuyu community was accused, even inside the parliament, as being the one that is against the then president. And then there was also an accusations that there were foreign powers that were backing Kenya in order to have regime change. Yet there was a continental movement, even a global movement, on the fall of the Eastern and the Western Europe barricades, particularly the reunification of Germany and what was happening between the US and the USSR, Russia. So this is an attempt to isolate, to escape responsibility. It will not win. It will not happen. The changes movement so far and going forward, the way we see it, will be uncompromised. It will be bold. It will be fearless. It will be national. And now the Gen Z is out. We want the next time there will be a national protest, that there be pronouncement clearly from those who have been bringing themselves voluntarily, because you have seen it's mostly mobilized digitally, online. There are no secret meetings that have been fired. And you know how? It is such an abuse for anyone, instead of taking responsibility and accepting guilt, to say that these are individuals who have been mobilized, who are being fired, and to blame regarding Gachagua, the leader of DCP, former deputy president, as being the one in charge. They are just running again to corner this issue to Mount Kenya, to Muranga, to Nyeri, to Meru, those counties around the Mount Kenya. So what I can say is, it is in vain. It will not succeed.
And Kabando, with the statements that are given yesterday, especially by the Minister for Interior, should Kenyans take that as a government position?
Yes, that is the government position. You saw how he behaved for a cabinet secretary. You know how he moved there, even to certain scenes around there, some looting centers with the IDs distribution there. Like people went to loot, and then hundreds of them produced the IDs, put them in one basket, and then left and all that. It's so shoutage. It's very, very, very. It's outrageous. And because Kipchumba Murkomen, by the way, I was in Parliament with him 2013 to 2017 when he was still senator, and then I was a member of National Assembly. He is one of the closest and most trusted allies of William Ruto beyond the cabinet. When Kipchumba Murkomen speaks, that is the voice of William Ruto, the President of the Republic of Kenya. And therefore, what we are seeing today is the President of Kenya, whose state minister, the Minister for Interior, the CS, in charge of the security of this country, making a statement that are ethnically profiling, that are backpassing. The backstop that is just, yet is backpassing. And when the highest throne, to whom much and highest responsibility is assigned, shows irresponsibility, then you know the country has gone to the dogs. You know that the president has lost total grip. And instead of people now being quietened people being calmed. People are more angrier. People are more charged. They are more infuriated. And they know that their destiny, their security, their safety, and their progress cannot be guarded by the incumbent government, and specifically President William Ruto. We saw even the deputy president appointed, Kidiki, last evening, putting his hands in the pockets, blaming the church. You know, the media was closed, particularly the Standard Group was the first target, and you have been doing very great job in your bold headlines and very objective content. You are now battling. Ruto is battling the media. Is battling the church. Has battled the region that gave him 47% of the votes, presidential votes in 2022. He is fighting the youth. He is fighting everyone. He is now denying us everything. The only thing that he is now almost appropriating and securing against the citizens is oxygen that has been given by Almighty God.
I hear you, Kabando, and it's painting a picture for which then the eternal vigilance of Kenyans needs to be ramped up significantly. And for us to continue having these conversations, like I always say, is then very important. Thank you for your insights this morning, as usual, and that we cannot forget some of these issues. Kabando, reminding us lest we forget. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and all the best. Let's keep moving forward.
Indeed, asante sana.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your